let's just go ahead and jump into the beginning of the whole thing. Trump being indicted again.
Time now that the former president has been indicted on criminal charges.
That's right. We just got a federal indictment that was handed down in the D.C. courthouse, downtown Washington, D.C., by the grand jury that's been investigating the former president on his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. It is a 4-count indictment based on public reports. That turns out to be accurate. We now know what those charges are. It's a single defendant, just Donald J. Trump. And those 4 counts are conspiracy to defraud the United States. That's when it takes 2 or more people to try and injure or threaten or intimidate somebody trying to exercise a civil right. Now, we just got a copy of the indictment. I haven't read through it here, but presumably one of those theories would be trying to interfere with voters, trying to exercise their right to vote and have that vote be counted. The second count, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. This is 1512 under the obstruction statute, and this has been used in a number of January 6th criminal cases where the defendants have been charged with obstructing an official proceeding that was happening at the United States Capitol on January 6th, attempting to disrupt the certification of the Electoral College votes that was taking place that day. On the third count of the indictment, that is also obstructing or attempting to obstruct an official proceeding similar to what I just explained. And finally, count 4, 241, conspiracy against rights. So there are 4 counts, conspiracy to defraud the United States, 2 counts on obstruction, and a single count on conspiracy against rights. That conspiracy to defraud the United States was one of the charges that was recommended by the House committee that was investigating January 6th, as was the 1512 count, the obstruction charges that are in the indictment.
Okay. What's wrong, Anna? Because I saw you had a confused look on something.
I'd like to hear more about the 4th. I don't know what it meant.
What was the 4th one? Just
Conspiracy, something about right? It wasn't making sense.
Hold on 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep going.
I mean, the other ones were pretty straight up defrauding and obstruction. Obstruction should be his middle name by now.
Conspiracy against rights.
So
conspiracy,
people's right to vote like
so
that?
it's really going back to disenfranchisement. It's a throwback to the Ku Klux Klan laws, following or leading into Jim Crow, like that early. It's like a early 1900s law or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, it's obstructing the ability to have free, unfettered access to the enterprise of voting. So basically, they're trying to get him for obstruction. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Count 1 is conspiracy to defraud the United States. Count 2 is conspiracy to obstruct the official proceeding. Count 3 is obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. And count 4 is conspiracy against rights.
Okay.
And as the lady said, the third count, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, is what the majority of the time have used against the people on January 6th.
That pretty much defines what they were doing there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, what they did was a terror attack. That's first up, straight up and down. That's what it was. It's politically motivated violence, seeking a political outcome. That's terrorism, right?
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of times people miss is because it has such a soft title, obstructing a official proceeding. They're like, well, what does that mean? What, they stood outside and they blocked them from going, so it sounds like a little thing, but it's a really big thing. because you're literally trying to stop the transition of power, right? Now,
Right.
technically, they could get you for this if you decided to like bust in the doors when they're trying to hold a vote and you're just loud. Technically, they could do that, but this is like one of those catch-all kind of things. So it's a big deal. I think it carries like a 10 to 20 or something like that. It's a,
Mm.
you know,
It's
this
a
man ain't going to jail, but
no,
whatever.
no, no. But if all counts are counted, which by the way, let me say this before I finish, so people will stop getting confused on one thing. If all counts are counted, if he's found guilty of all the counts, it's up to about 50 years. That being said, no, it's not going to be. The courts have a table that they go through for each count of anything that's been found guilty. So the maximum of 50 years is just something that people like to throw out. Ooh, he could get a whole 50. That rarely a judge gives the full count for anything.
Unless you're a poor minority,
Yep.
because then basically they come to you and they say, okay, I want you to plead, because over 90 something percent, like 94, 95% of cases never make it to trial, right?
Right.
So they come to you and they're like, I want you to plead to this and we'll give you 8 years. And then you're like, but I'm innocent, I'm not going to plead to that. Well, look, if you don't plead to this, then we're going to go for the maximum, and that's 64 years, right?
Yep.
So you're 18 years old and they're talking 64 years. You know what I'm saying? It's like they use that against you.
That's
But
right.
when you're rich and powerful, like in this particular case is the most extreme case, which is Trump, then that threat doesn't work, right? You have high-powered lawyers, you have the office behind you. You know, no matter how bad this goes, you are facing home confinement. Like that's the worst they can do to you. So of course you take it to trial. You take everything to trial. Because I mean, there's no reason for me to cop to anything when I know you will not put me behind bars. Now, Trump is on a train to like basically force someone's hand because he keeps being sloppy. But short of Biden revoking his Secret Service protection, because Biden can revoke his Secret Service protection, I believe. So if which he would not do, because if he did that, boom, the streets are going to go up in flames, right? So he's stuck there. Trump is playing his angle over there. So then the judges are going to be sitting there like, how many times can I threaten this man and hope he finally listens when this man knows I don't have a lot to do to him?